Imagine you are on a long road trip. Your car does not travel at one constant speed. It speeds up on the open highway. It slows down through towns. It stops at traffic lights. At the end of the day, how would you figure out the total distance you have traveled? You cannot simply multiply speed by time. Your speed was always changing. This is the sort of puzzle that mathematics loves to solve. We need a way to gather up all those little moments of travel, all those tiny distances covered, and add them together into one single meaningful total. This is precisely what an integral does. An integral is a powerful mathematical tool. It finds a total amount when the rate of that amount is changing. The concept might sound a little abstract at first, but it is rooted in a very simple visual idea: finding the area of a shape. We see many things around us that add up over time or space. A reservoir fills with water. The rate of flow from the river feeding it might change with the seasons. Let us begin with a blank page, a canvas for our idea. On this page, we draw two lines that cross at a right angle. The horizontal line, running from left to right, we can call the x-axis. The vertical line, running up and down, we can call the y-axis. This is our graph, a simple map for plotting relationships between numbers. Now imagine drawing a gentle flowing curve on this graph. Let's say this curve floats somewhere above the horizontal x-axis, rising and falling as it moves from left to right. This curve represents some changing quantity. The central question we want to answer is this: what is the exact area of the space trapped between our curve and the horizontal x-axis? Think of the curve as a rolling hillside and the x-axis as the flat ground beneath it. We want to measure the precise size of the cross-section of that hill. This space is what mathematicians call the area under the curve. It might be a simple shape, like a rectangle or a triangle, but more often than not, its curved top makes it a rather awkward shape, one whose area we cannot calculate with a simple schoolroom formula. The integral is the special key we need to unlock this measurement. To make our task specific, we must define the boundaries of our area. We cannot measure the area under an infinite curve, so we must choose a starting point and an ending point along the horizontal x-axis. Let's imagine drawing two vertical lines to mark these points. One line marks where our area begins and the other marks where it ends. Now our target is perfectly clear. It is the shape bounded by the curve on top, the x-axis on the bottom, and our two vertical lines on the left and right. This enclosed region is the specific area we are determined to find. This is the foundational image of the integral. Faced with this awkwardly shaped area, we need a plan. The plan is wonderfully simple in its conception. If we cannot measure the whole thing at once, let us break it down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Our first attempt at calculating the area gave us a reasonable, but rough, estimate. The sum of our rectangular slices was close to the true area, but the jagged stair-step pattern formed by their tops did not perfectly match the smooth flow of our curve. How can we improve our accuracy? The answer lies in the width of our slices. If the little errors are caused by the tops of the rectangles being flat, then we can reduce those errors by making the rectangles narrower. When the strips are narrower, their tops are a better fit for the small piece of curve they are trying to represent. So, let's repeat our process, but this time we will cut the area into twice as many vertical strips. Each strip will now be half as wide as before. We once again calculate the area of each new, thinner rectangle, its height times its new, smaller width, and add all of these areas together. We will have to do more additions, of course, because we have more pieces, but the result of this more laborious sum will be a better approximation. The stair-step pattern of the rectangle tops will now hug the curve more tightly, and the little gaps and overlaps that caused our first error will have become significantly smaller. This is where the truly beautiful idea comes in. What if we do not stop there? What if we make the slices even thinner? And thinner still, 1,000 strips, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000. As we increase the number of strips, the width of each individual strip becomes infinitesimally small. The process of adding them all up becomes, in theory, impossibly long. But as we do this, something magical happens. The sum of the areas of these ever thinner rectangles gets closer and closer and closer to one specific final number. Let us make this idea concrete with a very simple example. Consider the straight line described by the equation y equals x. This is a simple diagonal line that starts at the very center of our graph, the point where x is 0 and y is 0, and goes upwards at a 45-degree angle. For every step we take to the right along the x-axis, the line rises by the exact same amount. When x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 2. It is a perfectly predictable straight line curve. Now let's use this line to define an area. We want the area under y equals x between x equals 0 and x equals 2. If you picture this, the shape we have enclosed is a simple right-angled triangle. Its base lies along the x-axis, from 0 to 2, so its width is 2. Its height is the value of y when x is 2, which is also 2. From basic geometry, we know the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height, which equals 2. We can see, without any complex mathematics, that the exact area we are looking for is 2. This is our target number. Now we can try to find this answer using our method of adding up rectangles, just to see if it works. To keep it simple, let's first divide the base, which runs from x over 0 to x over 2, into just 2 vertical strips. Each strip will have a width of 1. For the first strip, at x over 1, height is 1, so area is 1. For the second, at x over 2, height is 2, so area is 2. Now we add them to get 3. We know the true area is 2, so our estimate is quite a bit too high. Let's refine our approach. This time, we will split the area from x over 0 to x over 2 into 4 thinner strips. Each strip will now have a width of 0.5. Their areas are 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 1.0, 0.5, 1.5, and 0.5, 2.0, which total 2.5. Our second approximation is 2.5, still high, but much closer than 3. We have reduced the error. If we repeat with 8, 16, or 100 strips, we see our sum getting progressively closer and closer to the exact answer of 2. This numerical exercise demonstrates the principle in action. As slices get thinner and more numerous, our approximation steadily improves. The integral is simply the ultimate result of this refining process. Slice, multiply, and sum, taken to the limit, yields the precise area. Now that we have a firm grasp of the integral as a tool for finding area, we can return to our original story of the road trip. Imagine a graph where the horizontal x-axis now represents time, and the vertical y-axis represents the car's speed. As the car speeds up and slows down, the graph of its speed over time will be a curve, rising, falling. Finding the total distance traveled is the same problem as finding the area under this speed-time curve. Think about a very short interval of time. During this brief moment, the car's speed is almost constant. The small distance it travels is speed multiplied by the small amount of time, the area of a thin strip, height times width. To find the total distance, we add up all the small distances, exactly as we add up all the thin rectangular areas. The two calculations are one and the same. The integral gives the exact total distance traveled. Whenever we have a rate of change, the integral allows us to find the total amount accumulated over an interval. Mathematics uses a special symbol. It looks like a tall, elegant letter S, and it is written like this. This symbol is called the integral sign. Its shape comes from the old longs and was chosen to stand for sum. At the bottom, we write the starting point. At the top, the ending point, the limits of integration. Next to the sign, we write the curve's formula. Finally, we add dx to indicate slicing along the x-axis with infinitely thin widths. For our triangle, the concise instruction is from 0 to 2 of x dx. Find the exact area under y and conjecture x from 0 to 2. The mean sum, the numbers give limits, the formula gives the curve. Dx tells the slicing direction. In the end, an integral is a precise method for adding up a great many very small pieces to find the value of a whole. We slice, add, and imagine the slices becoming infinitely thin to achieve an exact result. This logic underpins distance, work, surplus, probability, any cumulative effect of continuous change. Techniques are shortcuts. The foundation is slicing and summing. With this core idea, you've taken the most important step toward understanding one of the cornerstones of modern mathematics and science.